All right. Well, here I am reminding everybody else of their glasses, and I'm sitting there bald-faced. All right. All right. So our questioner has been interested. He moved from his interest of his internal world to kind of how things look. We've got two people coming in. Just a moment. Rita and Vinod. Good morning, Rita. Good morning, Vinod.
Good morning, Pranam Maharaj.
And so we're kind of looking at that, and our questioner is quite frustrated actually because he's got his individual world that we all have, right? And he's trying to understand what it is to be realized. And you see, when we try and picture what we are when we're realized, we still try and hold on to our sense of an individual self. We try to imagine that individual self as being realized and think, oh, what would that be like? uh, the problem with the exercise is that we move from individual to universal. You see, the realized self is not particular. It doesn't have an I. It doesn't have a centralized sense of identity that's based on attributes. It's a sense of identity built on an unchanging principle, and its center is everywhere. And so it's impossible to imagine or to get an accurate idea of what it's going to be like uh, to be realized, because the sense of I, the individual, is what we forfeit in order for that to attain that freedom. And so Maharaj just got finished telling our questioner, he says, everything moves according to its nature. Where is the need of a policeman? Every action creates a reaction, which balances and neutralizes the action. Everything happens, but there is a continuous canceling out. And in the end, it is as if nothing happened. Right? So that is that harmony and balance of the universe as a whole, where nothing is added or taken from it. Here comes Kieran. And so that's also how we maintain that absolute unchanging ideal in the end. So he says, the questioner is upset with that answer now. He says, do not console me with final harmonies. The accounts tally, but the loss is mine, right? So he feels like I'm losing all of this individuality and and experience. And what do I gain with all of this renunciation? Manash says, well, wait and see, right? The proof is in the pudding. That's really the nice thing about the Vedanta philosophy or religion, depending on how you view it, is that there are multiple ways of accomplishing things, and that the religion is not really interested, or the philosophy is not really interested, or does not make the point of what the answer is. So sure, it knows the answer because people have had those realizations, but that's not the point. The point is not to go tell everybody, hey, the world is one without a second and the ultimate reality is unchanging, and if it changes, it's unreal. Those are all by the wayside. Yes, those are all the ultimate truth, but they are not the message of Vedanta. The message of Vedanta is you can be free. And here are the means and methods of that freedom. And what you get, well, see what you get. That's the point. We can't tell you because it's not describable. But here are the tools, and here are the methods, and here are the experiments that you can do. And by the way, this is what you'll ultimately find out in a general way. But keep going. It takes time and surrender, right? Love. It takes love, truth, and a great longing, a great desire to be free. So he says, wait and see. You may end up with a profit good enough to justify the outlays, right? Hang on, it might be worth it. The questioner, well, there is a long life behind me, and I often wonder whether its many events took place by accident or there was a plan. Was there a pattern laid down before I was born by which I had to live my life? If yes, who made the plans and who enforced them? Could there be deviations and mistakes? Some say destiny is immutable and every second of life is predetermined. Others say that pure accident decides everything. Maharaj, you can have it as you like, right? It's the world that you live in. You create the world, right? Do everything for reasons, and then you live in a world of reasons. Do everything with plans, and then you live in a world of determined outcomes. Be spontaneous and free in the moment, forgetting your past, eliminating the future, and acting from your nature, and then it happens. Things happen. They don't have a purpose, they don't have a reason, right? They are simply the unfolding of the divine expression in the moment, an expression of Satchit Ananda, right? But not a narrative. You can have it as you like. You can distinguish in your life a pattern or see merely a chain of accidents. Explanations are meant to please the mind. They need not be true. Reality is indefinable and indescribable. Right? So any time that we come up with any sense of egoistic reality, right? Egoism basically takes this unknown infinity of a mystery and whittles it down to a few, I guess, facts and figures to give us a sense of stability and control. But it's by no means a true analysis of what the moment is. Think of how many variables there are in this moment, how many things can change in this moment, right? And how many of those are you in charge of? Less than a handful, right? And so your ego takes that handful of things and emphasizes the tarnation out of them. Like, it's really important that you get to decide yes or no on this thing, right? But in fact, we really are on a ride, as it were. Really the most daring of all rides. We're on a vehicle hurtling through space and spinning at thousands of miles at the same time in directions we have no idea. And the interesting thing is that we have never in our life known where we are. You see, but the ego has kept that safely from your awareness. Oh, you're right here in this town, in this state, in this country. We know where you are. But on the infinite scale, we're hurtling through space without a mailbox, right? There's no way to find us because we have no idea how to tell you where we are. So this life is as you make it. You can take this life and you can arrange those variables almost in any way you possibly want them to be, right? And this is why we call it delusion. This is why we call it delusion. We collect a few variables that we're in charge of, we pay attention to those, create a narrative around them, a sense of cause and effect, and then we place the thought of ourself, not ourself, but the thought of ourself squarely in the middle of that nest of other thoughts. And there we have egoistic life. We have secular life, just kind of carrying on according to the arrangements of thoughts and then taking into account the ever changing conditions and circumstances to make our adjustments as we go. And that gives us plenty of things to distract ourselves with during the day. And we carry on, moving our little pickup sticks around, keeping everything as stable as possible, and just bemoaning it every time it falls down and restarting. No problem. I'm in charge. I'm happy. Right? But here you can have it as you like. You can distinguish in your life a pattern and see merely a chain of events with cause and effect and take a handle on those. Or you can see it as all accidents. Doesn't matter, belongs to the mind. There's no truth outside of yourself, right? Anything that you use to describe the externals, why? Because the externals really, well, they don't exist ultimately. They say everything is internal. Ultimately, there is no external. But if we were to give the externals a name, it would be God, right? We've put our little picket fence around our little headspace here. This is where I'm in charge, and then everything out there, oh, that's God. That's the big unknown. That's the things I'm not in charge of, right? And so Maharaj says you can have it as like explanations are meant to please the mind. They need not be true. Reality is indefinable and indescribable. So that's because that's where I was going with that idea that everything out there is God. And if you're going to try and give a reason and a rhyme to that, well, good luck. Good luck. There's always a first, perhaps. Maybe you'll be able to tap it out. You know, I was talking to Swami Prabhutananda one time, just as a side note, because with all of these computers and the net and the internet and now AI and all of that, I was asking him. I said, are we ever going to be able to game the system? Will we ever know enough variables to know what's next? And he laughed and he says even if you knew all of the variables, you would not be able to tell what's next. He says because he says the Divine Mother has put an indefinable variable in there at the very fundamentals of things that is always wobbling and wiggling. It can go this way or that way at any time without any determinable reasoning. It's that principle of if you try and lock it down, Mother will automatically something automatically will happen outside of those boundaries. For that very reason, quite possibly. Well, sir, you are escaping my question. I want to know how you look at it. Wherever we look, we find structure of unbelievable intelligence and beauty. How can I believe that the universe is formless and chaotic? Your world, the world in which you live, may be formless, but it need not be chaotic. Maharaj, the objective universe has structure, is orderly and beautiful. Nobody can deny it. But structure and pattern imply constraint and compulsion. My world is absolutely free. Everything in it is self determined. Therefore, I keep on saying that all happens by itself. There is order in my world too, but it is not imposed from outside. It comes spontaneously and immediately because of its timelessness. Perfection is not in the future, it is now. So, the objective universe, that which the mind is seeing, experiencing, orderly and beautiful, because the mind makes it so, right? The sunset is beautiful when you see it. Before then, it's undefined. So, everything in this universe takes its structure and its orderliness and its beauty by meeting you, the divine nature. The divine nature is what presents meaning to this world, gives value to this world, makes it beautiful, makes it important of any kind. So he says, my world is absolutely free, right? Nothing is being imposed on it. And it's the same with us. This is the big switch in religion that I'm really struggling through, coming from a Western perspective of religion more to an Eastern perspective. You know, on the Western perspective, everything's very external. The way you behave, the things you say, the things that you do, the things that you believe, those are all the important things. And Vedanta pushes all of those off the table. It just goes, nope, clear that whole table, and now listen. Sit down and listen to the universe for your next move. Right? Sit there and be so in tune, so subtly aware inside that you hear the self. You're inspired into action. You're not driven or planned into action, you're inspired into action. Right? So that is why he says this perfection is not in the future, it is now. Why? Because the promptings for everything that is currently happening in this universe are centered in the divine nature, the divine principle, love, wisdom, and existence. Right? So as long as you've got pure love and pure wisdom and existence being the only motivating factors in the universe, the moment from the divine perspective is always perfect. There's never anything necessary. There is nothing. If the universe is omniscient and omnipotent, there is nothing to change. There is no problem to solve. There is no thing to be done. So the questioner says, "Well, does your world affect mine?" Maharaj, at one point only, at the point of the now. It gives it momentary being, a fleeting sense of reality. In full awareness, the contact is established. It needs effortlessness, unself-conscious attention, right? So at this moment here, this is where the meeting of all our worlds is, in this moment, the now, right? We take what is here in this now, and by applying our habits of past, right, and all of our attachments toward this world, this now that we all share, this now becomes unique to me. And then when I take this now and I project it according to my attachments, my past, right, and project it according to my experiences into a future to fix what my projections imply, right? If I'm smelling pizza and want pizza, there's no pizza in the moment. I've got to go get pizza in the moment. And so that becomes my future. All right. So we get caught in that. And that puts us all in our own world. So we take this undefined reality of the moment, and from that same material, we each project our individual world. That's why everybody can be sitting in the same room and somebody will be in there really nervous, just can't sit still, and somebody else will be falling asleep. Somebody else might be a little intoxicated, right? Everybody's having radically different experiences of the now based on what? Karma. Based on the things from the past that you dragged into it, your habits and perspectives and ideas, and based on the desires that you create out of it, that you project out of it into your future. And so all of us experience the same moment in radically different ways because we are experiencing this intersection of worlds from our particular world. Okay? That's what he's saying here. So at one point only, the point of now, it gives it momentary being, a fleeting sense of reality. In full awareness, the contact is established. It needs effortless, unself-conscious attention, right? Effortless means you're not trying to change it or form it into your will or your desires. You're accepting it. You're surrendering to it as it is, right? It needs effortless, unself-conscious attention. So not me in the center of the world. That is that unparticular that we're talking about. That's what makes it so difficult to know what it is to be realized from the unrealized perspective, because you have an unself-conscious attention, right? No awareness of a particular me in the middle of it. I am the whole. I am not a part, right? And I am not a thought. And I cannot be described by a thought. Because in my reality, there are no thoughts. There is only isness, right? Thoughts come from a sense of imbalance. If I'm experiencing isness as perfection, there is no imbalance. There's no noise of mind unless I employ the mind for a particular reason. So the questioner says, is not attention an attitude of mind? Maharaj, well, yes, when the mind is eager for reality, it gives attention. There is nothing wrong with your world. It is your thinking yourself to be separate from it that creates disorder. Selfishness is the source of all evil. Oh, very interesting here. So see what he's saying. This is a beautiful point. There's nothing wrong with your world. So you don't need to go about fixing it, all right? Ego is what projects or what finds imperfection in the moment. And then ego is the one that creates a story, a narrative for how to repair that, how to get out of that imperfection. And this is the way the ego keeps us under its sway, right? Is by constantly promising to fix things, constantly promising to manage things, constantly promising to control things. But it cannot do that, right? So the questioner says, well, I'm back to my question. Before I was born, did my inner self decide the details of my life? Or was it entirely accidental and at the mercy of heredity and circumstance? Maharaj, those who claim to have selected their father and mother and decide how they are going to live their next life may know for themselves. I know for myself, I was never born. right? So he's giving them the space to do it. He's not saying one way or the other. What he's really saying is that that question belongs to the dream, and the answer is transcendent to that question, is what he's saying here, right? So those who have claimed to have selected their father and mother and decided how they're going to live their next life may know for themselves, right? So he says, well, if they claim so, perhaps it is so for them. But he says, the reality that I know for myself is that I was never born. So I never selected parents. I never planned out a life. I was never a person, right? That, I think that's one of my favorite quotes from him in this book. There is no such thing as a person, right? There is no particular. There is only the whole. So I know for myself that I was never born. The questioner, I see you sitting in front of me and replying to my questions. Maharaj, you see a body only, which, of course, was born and will die, right? So you see a body, but that's not what I am. You see a body and think that's what I am because you think you are your body. You have not solved your own conundrum. As soon as you solve your own conundrum, you will no longer associate that body with me, right? You won't see about me as a body anymore. It is, and the questioner, it is the life story of this body mind that I'm interested in. Ah, well, that's why he's stuck in the middle of it. It's your own interest that keeps you clinging to your life, that keeps you in delusion, right? So he says, it is the life story of this body mind that I'm interested in. Was it laid down by you or somebody else? Or did it happen accidentally? Maharaj, there is a catch in your very question. I make no distinction between the body and the universe. Each is the cause of the other. Each is the other in truth. But I am out of it all. When I am telling you that I was never born, why go on asking me what were my preparations for the next birth? The moment you allow your imagination to spin, it at once spins out a universe. It is not at all as you imagine, and I am not bound by your imaginings. Right? So he's really, this is part of the reason for our meditations and our practices, is to sit and to let these things integrate, to let these understandings drip down into the root of our being so that there's a harmonized consistency to our awareness so that we don't do things like this. When I first joined the Vedanta, I used to get quite tickled at it because one of the first things we're all told is that you're never born and you'll never die. And I tell you, the first question of every Vedantin is what happens after I die? It's like, how are you going to get there from here? If you're told one thing and can't let go of it in order to understand it, to know it to be true, what are you going to stand on to go to the next place? If you're going there with jnana, with knowledge, it's like you have to sit there, and this is why Vivekananda tells you all the time, really constantly tell yourself, I am ever free, and then remind yourself why, because this moment is always new. I am the one that drags the past into it, right? I'm the one that uses my experience to describe it, but I can stop doing that. I can simply accept it as it is and have no thought of what it becomes, right? What I simply do is take what is in my moment and apply Satchit Ananda to it and let it go. That's it. That's the purpose of life. That is where you will, as a byproduct, find depth of experience, fulfillment, contentment. Not by going and collecting things to be content with, but by being content and living accordingly. All right? So this moment is perfect. It's in perfect balance. It's everything in the universe conspiring for your present experience. Accept that perfection. Open up to it, right? Don't let the mind create a narrative. Sit in silence and appreciate it. Like Brother Lawrence, that generally fond regard for the moment, for God, right? Because this moment is divine. It is the God of the Bhakta. This moment is the truth. That is the one most important thing that Ramakrishna talks about. This moment is love, the one most important thing in life. This moment is the resolution. It is you, ultimately. This moment is you, and it is God, and it is truth, and it is beauty, and it is the workroom of karma if you have an ego. Right? In this moment, ego is built and ego is destroyed as we go. So everything is in this moment. So he says there's a catch in your very question. I make no distinction between the body and the universe. Each is the cause of the other. Each is the other in truth. But I am out of it all when I am telling you that I was never born. Why go on asking me what were my preparations for my next birth? The moment you allow your imagination to spin, all right? As soon as you go into your head, as soon as you go into your head, the spider of delusion is busy at work. He's going to give a why and a wherefore for everything, and a to-do list for what isn't correct and what needs to be fixed, what needs to be accomplished. And then it's going to judge it to see how it was done. And it's going to give you a self-worth based on your attitudes towards your performance. And that's going to give you a perspective on your next moment, if you're going to look at it with insecurity or with strength. Right? All of these things. Questioner, well, it requires intelligence and energy to build and maintain a living body. Where do they come from? Maharaj, there is only imagination. Right? So he's going for this world. This world is completely internal. It is within you. You are not within it. And there is only imagination. What does that mean? Everything, we've talked about this, and this is a thing you can work on in an exercise. Everything is only a thought. Every object in your room right now is only a thought. Every plan of your day is only a thought. Your body is only a thought. You are only a thought. And actually, that's what ego is. Ego is the thought of you. Right? This whole world exists in your mind. You do not exist in your mind. So to participate in this world, you have to create a you in this world. Where is this world? It's in your mind. It's in your imagination. So what do you have to do to live in this world? You have to equally become a thought, because only a thought can live among thoughts. So you become a thought of yourself within your mind of ever-changing realities, ever-changing thoughts, right? So you become a thought of yourself. That's egoism. That's your particularity. And what we're trying to do in Vedanta is to let go of that thought of me and return to me. That's why neti neti. Neti neti removes all the possibilities of me being a disturbance, of me being a wave in my mind, right? So neti neti, I remove all thought identities of self in order to do what? To be, to sit in the present moment, because you can't think about the present moment. By the time you manage to have a thought of the present moment, that present moment is gone. That spurred that thought. Your thought is now history. It's purely imagination. It's no longer associated with present. That's how we get trapped into the mind, right? We step out of the present moment into a thought, and that thought is related to thousands and millions of other thoughts. And there we go, slipping from one banana peel of thought to another one until we're consumed with them. We're like that woman on the Merv Griffin show when I was 7 years old, a little Asian woman who was keeping all these plates spinning at the top of these 5-foot dowels on a bench. And she had to just keep going along and activating all the dowels to keep all of those plates spinning up there. And I've come to know that that's what life is for a worldly person. It's just keeping all your plates spinning, making sure none of them fall down and crash to the floor. And that's it. The more plates, the busier your life, the higher your stress, the more you have to do, and probably the more money you're getting. But you're just spinning plates. All right. There is only imagination, so everything is in mind. The intelligence and power are all used up in your imagination. It has absorbed you so completely that you cannot grasp how far from reality you have wandered. No doubt imagination is richly creative. Universe within universe are built on it. Yet they are all in space and time, past and future, which just do not exist. Right? They just simply don't exist. That's why Ramakrishna tells us that which changes is unreal. The unchanging alone is real. Right? And so that's what we're trying to find, as it were. Of course, if you go looking for it, you're not going to find it because you're sitting on it. Right? It's stuck to your back with a piece of tape. So if you go looking, you're not going to find it. It is you. And so we're trying to come to this moment without a thought. We're trying to be able to become uninterested in mind through the practice of knowing that it is not me, and that the thoughts in it are just brought to me by the wheel of samsara. They are not actually related to me. They have nothing to do with me. And through that indifference to mind, we withdraw ourselves from it. We get out of the swimming pool. By getting out of the swimming pool, the waves still, right? The waves of the pool still. And when the waves of the pool still, then reality can be clearly seen. Because if the waves of the pool are still, that means we have no thought in the mind. If there's no distraction in the mind, we can be. And in that silence of that being, that pregnant silence of reality, the potential of all possibilities is there. It is love absolute, wisdom absolute, our very existence. And in it is freedom, because in that moment there is no causation, and without causation there is no karma. And with no karma there is no bondage. So you are free. No doubt imagination is richly creative. That's why we're interested in staying. What's going to happen next? Right? Universe within universe are built on it, yet they are all in space and time, past and future, which just do not exist. Right? And how do they get into space and time? Space and time, past and future, are what? They are tools of the mind. Space, time, causation are tools of the mind for what? For taking a one without a second and dismantling it into endless parts. Right? So the mind applies time, space, and causation to the one without a second in order to disassemble it. Right? To make room for my existence. So to make room for my existence, I disassemble the moment and create a new moment that can include me as a thought in it, me as a force in it, me as a doer in it. But that is not the reality. And so the world within which you live is in turmoil constantly because you've done an unnatural thing. You have taken a mind of infinite unity and forced the idea of me and mine on it. And that explosion is the Big Bang that created your universe. All right? That idea of me and mine created your universe. Questioner, I have read recently a report about a little girl who was very cruelly handled in her early childhood. She was badly mutilated and disfigured and grew up in an orphanage, completely estranged from its surroundings. This little girl was quiet and obedient, but completely indifferent. One of the nuns who were looking after the children was convinced that the girl was not mentally retarded, but merely withdrawn, irresponsive. A psychoanalyst was asked to take up the case, and for 2 full years he would see the child once a week and try to break that wall of isolation. She was docile and well behaved, but would give no attention to her doctor. He bought her a toy house with rooms and movable furniture, the dolls representing father, mother, and their children. It brought out a response. The girl got interested. One day the old hurts revived and came to the surface. Gradually she recovered. A number of operations brought back to her face and body to normal, and she grew into an efficient and attractive young woman. It took the doctor more than 5 years, but the work was done. He was a real guru. He did not put down conditions nor talk about readiness and eligibility. Without faith, without hope, out of love only, he tried and tried again. Maharaj, yes, that is the nature of a guru. He will never give up. But to succeed, he must not be met with too much resistance. Doubt and obedience necessarily delay. Given confidence and pliability, he can bring about a radical change in the disciple speedily. Deep insight into the guru and earnestness in the disciple, both are needed. Whatever was her condition, the girl in your story suffered for lack of earnestness in people. The most difficult are the intellectuals. They talk a lot, but are not serious. What you call realization is a natural thing. When we are ready, your guru will be waiting. Sadhana is effortless. When the relationship with your teacher is right, you grow. Above all, trust him. He cannot mislead you. Right? And I really love how this places all of this into the realm of natural, into the realm of organic, of authentic. That we're not trying to fix something, we're not trying to apply something, we're not trying to tape something onto us, right? We are simply trying to be in its purest form. That's all. And all that requires is an undoing, right? An undoing of our narratives. We have to be the first practice is to go in and find out the layout of your inner world, right? What is body? What is mind? What is self? Become familiar with that. When you become familiar with that, start to isolate the self, right? Don't listen to the to-dos of the body. Don't listen to the demands of mind, the moods of mind, right? Break yourself free from them by knowing that they are not you. And when you do that, life becomes more and more perfect. Why? Because all desires arise from only either body or mind. No desires arise from self, right? Only the longing for freedom is in the self.
So, Amish, can I ask you a question here?
Uh-huh.
So you're saying, okay, yeah, I absolutely, well, I think I understand it, but only obviously intellectually. But how do you act? Because every action in this world, right, in the unreal world,
Mm-hmm.
because every action is preceded by the mind, by the thought. And you talked about, I mean, he talked about earlier about self-determination of everything in his world. So everything is self-determined. Can we understand? Because I think the self-determination in this in the world of of the one is the key somehow to right. So how do you act in our world without a thought?
Well, the body, the thoughts are not you. Okay, thoughts are disturbances in the mind. Action happens through attachment, right? Or action happens through love, right? One of those two things. If you are living in mind as ego self, all action happens through attachment. The temperature in the room gets too cold. So I start looking around for a thermostat. Oh, there it is. Now I get up and I walk over and I turn up the thermostat because
Mm-hmm.
I'm attached to comfort, right? In a world of that he's living in, the self determination, without a thought of any discontent, the body is inspired by its nature. It acts out of love, right? If action is necessary. If no action is necessary, there's no action.
So is adjustment of the thermostat necessary in his world?
What's that? Is the
Yeah, so in our world, it's the body, discomfort of the body. We go eat, we do this all necessary things, right? Because we need to dress ourselves and so on and so forth.
right?
So in his world, how does he keep warm or food, takes food, or he doesn't? Other people have to take care of him.
Uh, no, if he's in samadhi, they take care of him. But otherwise, the mind takes care of the body takes care of the mind. You are an observer of that. So the mind, the body says to the mind, "I'm cold, cold." It won't say "I'm cold." It says "cold." And
Okay.
the mind gets that from the body. Ah, I know the solution to cold. It's a blanket, and I know the blankets are in the top drawer of the drawer in the bathroom.
So how's it different from I feel cold, so I need to go and get the blanket from the top, whatever.
I am not the one acting. That's the difference.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I clearly see that the mind and body take care of themselves, that they are not me, and that my observance is not necessary.
So the key is the intention.
The key is doership. Yeah, the key is if you see yourself doing, then you are in delusion, and you're acting from ego space. You're
Mm-hmm.
acting from cause, right? With in realized space, we're present only in the moment, only in the presence, and we're getting prompted from something beyond mind, seemingly, that moves us, right? That yeah, that moves us, but we're unconcerned with it, right? We don't mind.
Could you say a few words, if possible, about the self-determination that he mentioned earlier?
Yeah. Well, you see, if you live in mind, you've always got a cause, so you're not self-determined, right? When you're out of mind, when the mind is silent, you are inspired to action, but it doesn't have a cause. It doesn't have a reason necessarily. It's an expression of a principle. It's not in reaction to a condition or circumstance or a state of being. It's an expression of my moment, expression of me in the moment, or expression of that in the moment. That'd be better to say that. An expression of that in the moment. Right? We're not separate. And so I don't have to move separately with an awareness of separateness. I move in harmony as inspiration moves me. My nature, love, will move me to express love in any circumstance. That will be my movement. That will be my action. My nature expresses wisdom in every moment. That will be my movement. Right? But those are of nature. Those are of what my isness. Right? They are not the products of a lack or a lack of harmony, meaning a desire or an attachment.
Thank you.
Me, I don't want to be irrelevant or anything, but there's some countries that have customs where you don't do anything for yourself. You let somebody else pour your drink, you let somebody dress you, you let somebody open the door. The greatest thing is to be in a place and for you and yourself where you don't do anything for yourself.
Yeah, can you get me a plane ticket?
Well, that I had a lot of that experience in China and Japan, actually. I mean, any,
No, that's a fascinating idea. I mean, there are cultures in the world that express much closer ideals to the reality. I know there's an island down the South Pacific where they have no past tense in their language. There's no way to talk about the past. They always talk about the past from the present. So there is no past tense in their language.
it's
So
interesting.
there, yeah. So all these things, doing nothing for yourself, that'd be a great help to live in a culture like that. Can you imagine?
Maybe
Where we,
that's just in the monastic environment.
No, no, this wasn't a monastic.
it would be fun to get a group of people and try and live like that for a while. So let's all move into a big house together, and you dress me, I'll dress you. You feed me, I'll feed you. You clean.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, it'd be wonderful.
It would be an amazing experiment. It would be. Yeah. But the same egoistic structures could arise. Delusion has a way of forming when it wants to. I would start fighting with you because I made you two eggs and you only made me one. Right.
we yeah, we had to set up some guardrails. But
Yeah.
that no, I would it'd be there are people who try to achieve that in some of the Asian cultures. I've experienced it many
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because, I mean, that would be a direct implementation of some of the values of these religions. Definitely Vedanta, Ramakrishna says we grow from me and mine to thee and thine, right? That's our growth. We become we see everything as ourself. And
Question
so,
for Mark. You said you've been in a place like that?
Yeah, you go to Japan and I mean it's not exactly a perfect environment, but it's a very uh, wrong thing to do if you pour your own drinks. So
With
your friends,
alcohol, I know
yeah,
I was
yeah,
in
I'm not
Japan.
citing the best examples, but
Yeah,
you don't. Well, I mean, if you were Louis the 14th, you wouldn't dress yourself. It
right.
depends how much money you have. I mean, it depends on your situation, but this is not out of the realm of possibility.
no,
Not doing anything for yourself. I mean, anyway, just throwing
yeah,
it out there.
it would be quite an idealized society for sure. But all right, what time are we looking at? Okay, well, let's see here. All right, so he says, what you call realization is a natural thing, right? When you are ready, your guru will be waiting, right? So this is a very nice attitude to adopt, to understand that this is the reality of our practice. We're not on a schedule. There's not a due date, right? We're not in a rush. We're not actually doing anything. We're not accumulating anything. We're not attaining anything, right? We're simply going through a natural process, right? That the universe is ripening us. So it's a process of ripening, not a process of building, right? So we're being ripened, and you can't rush a ripening. A ripening is happening to you, but it's not in your control. It is the universe ripening. So what realization is a natural thing. When you're ready, the guru will be waiting. Sadhana is effortless, right? So we don't sit there and try and do. We're not egoistically trying to fix something in ourself. There is nothing to fix in ourself. Ourself is perfect. We're trying to be ourself and not the idea of ourself. That's the big difference. We're trying to find our way back to being and not being something. You are to be. Don't be me. Right? Don't be you. Be. Remove the things that make you you and simply be. When the relationship with your teacher is right, you grow. Above all, trust him. He cannot mislead you. Question, well, even when he asks me to do something patently wrong, Maharaj, do it. A sannyasi had been asked by his guru to marry. He obeyed and suffered bitterly, but his 4 children were all saints and seers, the greatest in the Maharashtra. Be happy with whatever comes from your guru, and you will grow to perfection without striving. See, this is that thing. This is for a Western mind. This is almost forbidden. This idea of absolute obedience to a guru. Boy, nothing will get an American in a tizzy in a faster way than to demand that. But that's why we're ego bound. That's why we're suffering so terribly, right now, is because of that egoism, because of that refusal, right, to be taught or to be led. That's what's getting us in trouble. And so you say, well, what if he's telling me the wrong thing? And then I'm going to go the wrong direction. No. Mother gave you that guru. That guru told you the wrong thing. Your willingness to obey that wrong thing broke your ego. Your willingness to submit to ill advice from your guru broke your ego. That was its purpose. Now Mother will give you a different guru, perhaps, or take you to the next step. The guru is to help you break your ego, right? It gives you something outside of your ego structure to listen to, right?
Freedom.
Yes.
Your freedom.
It will lead you to freedom, yes, because you have to break that ego. Our bondage is to our ego, to ourself, to this thought of ourself. We always have to comply. That's our bondage. To let go of that, we have to get outside of it. We have to get outside of that network somehow. And a guru is one of the means. A guru is outside of your ego structure and will tell you the things that your mind will not tell you. It'll mention the things to you that you're not comfortable with, right? It'll have you do things that you may not enjoy doing, right? When I went in and had to clean the shrine room in San Francisco, that was so hard.
What about the toilets? I mean,
Yeah, well, the toilets were all right. There was a purpose to that. The shrine being cleaned every day for twice a day, I couldn't see a purpose in that, right? Because it was clean. It was more than clean. It was spotless, right? But then I had to go in there and clean it twice a day, and I'd be like, what in the world? That's an ego breaker, right? It's an ego buster. The ego doesn't like to do things without a reason. It doesn't like to do things that it can't chalk up as an accomplishment to build itself, right? So our gurus give us tasks like that, give us teachings like that, give us awareness like that. Outside of ourself, we're not always following the demands of body mind, because initially that's what we do. You see, that's why we have to break ego. We don't even realize how devoted to our body and our mind we are, right? And so to find an influence that's outside of body and outside of mind is beneficial and necessary for a period. You will always have a guru, but maybe not always an external guru. Depends on what's most helpful for you, where you are. So even when your guru asks you to do something patently wrong, Maharaj says, do it. And then he talks about the one who got married, right? And how ultimate good comes out of these things. And then the questioner says, sir, you have wants. Have you any wants or wishes? Can I do anything for you? Maharaj, what can you give me that I do not have? Material things are needed for contentment, but I am contented with myself. What else do I need? Well, surely when you're hungry, you need food, and when you're sick, you need medicine. Hunger brings the food, and illness brings the medicine. It is all nature's work. Questioner, well, if I bring something I believe you need, will you accept it? Maharaj, the love that made you offer it will make me accept. Questioner, if somebody offers to build you a beautiful ashram, Maharaj, let him, by all means. Let him spend a fortune. Let him employ hundreds. Let him feed thousands. Questioner, is it not a desire? Maharaj, not at all. I am only asking him to do it properly, not stingily, half-heartedly. He is fulfilling his own desire, not mine. Let him do well, and let him be famous among men and gods. Questioner, but do you want it? Maharaj, I do not want it. Questioner, will you accept it? Maharaj, I don't need it. Questioner, will you stay in it? Maharaj, if I am compelled. Questioner, what can compel you? Maharaj, love of those who are in search of light. Questioner, yes, I see your point. Now, how am I to go into samadhi? All right. Did you get it? That was a nice little interlude there of how he exists. You almost got this idea of a cork bobbing in the middle of the river as it flows along. No self-imposed will, no discontentment with where it is, fluttering along on the ever-changing river, content in itself, needing nothing. Right? And this is possible. Why? Because your nature is pure love. And when you find the shrine of the unchanging in your heart, and you can sit in communion with that unchanging divine principle, that is the cause, the initial cause, as it were, that's where you will find that contentment. And it's not an ebb and flow. It is a constant hum. And that's the reason the mind has blocked it out as white noise long ago. And you have to once again become aware of this anahata sound, this constant presence of divine love singing within you. That Bhagavad Gita, the song of the divine within you. That is the scripture. That is the divinity. That is the ultimate reality. That is the universe. That is you. All right. We'll end there.
Ramji, one last question. Do you have a moment?
Oh, yes. I'm just going to let me turn off the recorder here.